All right, anyway. Yeah, sure. Let's do it. In fact, I'm going to stop gathering reference now. I'm just going to kind of put this down here. So I'll just talk about some common problems that people have with anatomy. So all muscles are is a pulley system. So imagine that this is like a joint. This is another joint. And to rotate this joint in this direction, you would have to, here, let me give myself more space. So here's a joint, here's another joint. And to rotate this joint up to this position, so if we were here, just imagine that's a bone, and we wanted to get to this bone or this new location, we would need to rotate. And how would we rotate this? Well, you can either push on it or pull on it. And so the muscles that we have, what they do is they pull. So a muscle will attach itself to here and usually to another bone. So there would be like overlap. And then from here, it will pull. It will pull this and contract. Okay. And so you take a look at like something like a very common problem that I see is like the chest. So the people will tend to draw like anatomy like this. They'll draw like the arm, like the deltoid, like that. They'll draw like the chest like this, and they have no regard of like the underworkings of the anatomy. So they just kind of just draw these shapes. They draw the bicep like this. They just draw like just circles, or just like these like oblong shapes and forms. They have like no purpose. But as I just showed you, muscles, this is how muscles work. They're a pulley system. So if we know what muscles are pulling what, then we will draw them a little bit more accurately, right? And if we know where they're connected and how they're connected, we know where they're pulling from, then it's better. So like, if you work out and you're really serious about working out, it's actually a great way to learn about anatomy, because to build certain muscles, you have to know how they're pulling. So for instance, if you want to build an upper chest, you need to pull in this direction, because the way that the upper chest works is that it connects into the humerus like that. And so it pulls in, and that creates the rotation that goes this way, right? And then if you pull your arm across your chest, because again, the pectoralis is pulling the humerus inwards, and it connects here. It connects to the base of the ribs too, as well as the sternum. So it connects to the sternum, to the clavicle, and just one part of the clavicle. And you'll notice that I drew it like this because it's a three-dimensional bone. It's not just straight. I mean, all bones have some dimension, but what I mean by this is that it goes into the back too. It kind of goes backwards and up and over. It's like you can feel it. Like right now, I'm feeling my own. You can feel where it's going, right? So it's not like a straight bone. There's some dimensionality to it. Like if you were to look at a top view, it's something like this, right? It's like it kind of creates a circle with the scapula, like an oval shape. Anyway, so if you understand that, oh wait, the chest is actually connected to the arm as well, not just the thing, then you realize what its function is. That's why when you do a bench press, right, you have, I'm going to do a top view. Like, so you have someone's hands and they're like bench pressing, and then here's their face, like, yeah, the bar is in front of them, they're laying down on a bench usually, and they have their chest is fully contracted. And what that means is it's shortened. Okay, but if you only do the bench press, you're only really working these center muscles and some of the top muscles and some of your shoulder, because your shoulder also helps with keeping the arm straight in front of you. It helps lift it, elevate it, because again, the deltoid connects to the humerus like this, and to the clavicle and to the scapula. Well, there's 3 heads to the deltoid, so each part of each deltoid head has its own role, but we're not going to get too much into that. I just want to kind of just point this out, that just like this general understanding of pulley systems. So then when you draw an arm, like lift it up, you will also consider the pecs, because the pecs is helping as well, right? So I usually draw them as one continuous muscle instead of two separate orbs that people do. So that's something basic that you should start to kind of really realize. Even with the surface muscles, like most people don't even understand what I just explained, right? And once you start to look for this, you'll start to see it everywhere. And you start to go to the gym and you start to like lift weights and stuff, and you want to build muscles in certain parts, you have to move your body in a very specific way. If you watch muscle videos too, when people talk about building muscle, they're always talking about it in this way, you know? They're always talking about contraction, abduction, all of these types of terms that in terms of movement and what that means. But if you don't know that, how are you going to draw that, right? It's going to be really hard. And so you're always guessing, or you're relying on somebody else to teach you or show you quite literally how to draw something. And that's not a foundational knowledge. That's just, piggybacking. And you don't want to piggyback too much. Obviously, you can't learn and know everything. I think there's a little bit of, you can rely on other people to kind of carry the weight. And what I mean by that, by like carrying the weight, you just use reference a lot more, and certain things you just don't understand. But I am a big fan of having core understanding of many things, because it makes you an overall better artist. So if you switch over to 3D, to 2D, to painting, to marker sketches, I think people are always surprised that even I can draw well traditionally. It's like, no, it's all fundamental. It's all the same. It's just different tools. Make sense? Yeah, because if you understand the functionality and stuff, right, then when you're drawing a character doing something, it's going to look more accurate. Does that make sense? Because if you don't, then you're just guessing. You're clearly just guessing. That's the point I'm trying to make. All right, I'm going to add all these to my collections before I get to painting. I forgot all about Derek, dude. Derek's super good. Look at the detail, man. I think he did some photo bashing, but still, that's really hard. Dang, that's a massive windmill. Holy shit, dude. All right, I'm going to come back to these later. Aton is a classic genius. It's really good. What does it say? How do you, okay, hold on. Thanks. So to get anatomy knowledge and to passively connect, I want to aim for painterly texture style. Any tips for getting, keeping a clear design while doing this? Painterly textured style. Yeah, okay. I'll come back to reading some of this. I actually prefer if you guys talk, if you can talk. I know some of you guys are writing now, but don't worry. I'll answer these questions that I've already written. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna save all this stuff. This is good. This is solid. This is the kind of stuff I love to see. Like functional, foundational ability, dude. That's what it's about. Nailing those fundamentals, dude. All right. I'm gonna check out Simon later. Let me pop this out. I got this thing because one of my friends, he has like 1 million tabs open, and I was just like, you gotta stop using so many tabs. And I recommended he get like some sort of tab sleeping tool, and I was like,
I was wondering about that. What is that?
And I was like, you know what, I should get it too. But I don't know if this one's actually any good. But yeah, it freezes it so that way it's not just running in the background. Chrome takes a lot of RAM. And if you have 1 million tabs open, like many people do, I actually tend to not have 1 million tabs open, but I know lots of people do, right? And it will slow down your machine and then make your machine crash more often.
What is it called?
I think this is called the Great Suspender.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's all sorts of ones, but this one had the best rating, so I just grabbed this one. I don't have this issue though. where my computer crashes off all the time. My friends are always like complaining about it, and I'm like, "Are you guys using Chrome?" And they're like, "Yeah." Like, you have a million tabs open? Yeah. I'm like, fucking close all your tabs, dude. You know, um, like like if you start to have a larger understanding of what a machine is, like a computer, right, and like what it takes to do stuff, especially when you start learning programming like I did, I was like, oh shit, man. But even before then, I was really good about. I don't like having so many tabs because it's like it brings me it makes me feel like I don't have any real focus, right? Then I'm just like constantly in this perpetual search of just amazing stuff, and I'm not necessarily guiding it. If that makes sense, right? Like I tend to just have like 4 or 5 tabs open that I think are really important. Right there was an exception. If I'm like collecting artwork, I'll just do what you just saw there, right? I'll just like make tabs. But then you also saw what I did. I collected them. You know what I mean? So that later I just need one tab to find all this, not fucking 700 tabs, and I have to like siphon through. It was funny. Like my good friend, we were hanging out. I'm gonna go ahead and give a painterly demonstration to kind of answer one of the questions. Um, you know, well, my friend, like he had like literally like 700 tabs open, and I was just like, what the fuck, man? And he's like, no, dude, I need every one of them. I need all of them. And then we were talking, and then he's like, oh, dude, I saw this thing. It's super cool. Let me just find it. And then he's like, he's scouring through all the tabs, and it just took so long. I was like, oh my god. So whenever I see people like have like a million tabs or 100 different like folders without like naming them like properly, I'm trying to tell you guys like there's actually a lot of value in having some sort of structure. And I'm not trying to say that I'm the best at this or I have solved or have all the answers. I'm just saying that like I realized that myself not having this was a burden, and so I started changing. Especially when I started doing game development for myself, like making my own games. I became like religious about like having a better file system, you know, because it's stupid not to, you know, because we deal with like lots of images, even with like file naming, like for freelance, like it was super important that I started to be a little bit smarter about it, you know, because you know, you've seen the final GIF where you have like one image. It's like this is my final, and then you put final two, the final those finaling. You know, it's like nothing's ever been finaled. You just keep making new final images. So my solution to this, and this is my advice to you in terms of file management, just name them accordingly, and then name them by versions. So if the final version happens to be 20, whatever, then that's the final version. But you'll always kind of like know chronologically which one is the newest one. Make sense? So like for instance, like if I'm doing thumbnails, I'll do like thumbnails, the character name version 1, whatever, or character name thumbnail version 1. You know, something like that. Something really simple. You know, and then if it's approved, like let's say I did version 3 or version 4 and it's approved, then I'll go on to iterations and do the same thing, like character name, iteration, version 1, right? Knowing that iterations is what's after thumbnails. And then I will just keep doing that. And then I get to the final design, like, so it's the final rendition, like the rendering, and I will call it character name, final version 1. Knowing that we're on the final step, but it's not the final 2, final 3. You know, it's all simple. When I do deliveries too, sometimes I'll just do delivery names. Like if I deliver a bunch of different stuff, like I'm doing a series of different characters, you know, or things that have to be submitted, right? So then I'll just make a folder and name it a delivery, and that'll just go in just number order. There's nothing about that I do differently. So I'll just like delivery 1, delivery 2, delivery 3, delivery 4. And the reason why I do that is because it's easier to then maintain all of the different stuff that I have to deliver to the client. Makes sense? So in terms of sketchiness and painterliness, I actually still recommend people practice having a real strong ability to render. And the reason why is because you don't want to be in a position where if somebody asks you to render, you just don't know how to do it. Okay? And you're more likely to be in that position than not. Okay? What does that mean? It means that, like, if you're working with somebody and they just want you to do illustrations and stuff, and they like the way you illustrate, like that, those jobs aren't plentiful. Okay? And you might get a job working and they might want you to do that, but then they want you to do more refinement, you know? And if your refinement is just non-existent, then they're going to, be upset about this. And even if like your portfolio never demonstrated that you could even do it, like people still feel weird about it, that you're not doing what they would hope that you could potentially do. And so even if you never demonstrated, like you should still have some skill, unless it's like something that's obviously out of your wheelhouse. Like if you don't have any photorealistic imagery and they're like, do this photorealistic painting, and they're expecting that you're going to do really well, like there should be there is a little bit of pushback that can be done there. You know what I mean? That would make sense that you could push back and they should respect you, you know? But my opinion is that you should still have some ability to just draw really well. Okay. Let me see if I can find, somebody who does both of this. And my thinking too is that you begin to become really you become really good at sketching too. You know, like if you have really, really refined images. So let me see if I can find like a super high quality image. So this is pretty high quality, right? There's another one that he's done that I was like, damn, dude, look in the details, dude. I got a couple artists that I wanted to show you. You know, Raphael does like these like really polished pieces. Yeah. But then when you look at like something that's a little bit more gestural, a little more sketchy like this, it's also really good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's because his foundational skill is so good, because it takes a lot of understanding and ability to do images at a high level, right? So then when you're just sketching, like you have that foundation high level that like sketching is like a breeze, you know? I like to think of it as stuff like if you I thought I was already following. Me and them are buddies too. I'm a bad friend. There's a lot of people I realize I like don't follow. Oh man, I should follow this. Dude. This is great. You learn how to draw traditionally too, man. Teach me, Raph. Teach me. Teach me how to be like you, bro. But like here, I have another example. My buddy Wojciech. Uh-oh, where the hell did the... Oh no. What's worse than having more tabs is multiple windows. What? Where is all these extra windows coming from? Yeah, let me see something. Yeah, okay, I only got 2 windows. All right. So this is like next gen quality, right? Super. You know, an artist is super confident. I already have this in quality, but I'm gonna put this in environments too. When they like zoom in on like their painting, you know, look at this shit. I even got the fucking moss in there, bro. You know, I think conceptually this might not be necessary, right? For a concept for concept painting, right? That's like matte painting high level of quality, right? A modeler a competent environment modeler doesn't necessarily need to see the exact detail of the moss. You know what I mean? But they need to know that that's moss, right? They don't need to see like the exact textures of the tree. They just need to know that it's a tree, right? And they to see the right colors and the textures and the materials indicated fairly well. But they don't have to have it like perfect. This is a personal work of his, so he just went all in. You know, he didn't really care too much, right? But Wojciech is really great because if we look at some of his sketches, because he has some sketches too, right? Like just rough drawings of his. He's definitely on the higher end of really rendered, but here you go. Okay, so you take a look at this, yeah? And it's just, this feels very masterful, very well painted, you know? And I always lean in the camp of you should just get really good at refinement because that shit's hard, you know? And then when you want to kind of just go easy, then you can and you'll be dominating, right? So a great example is like Usain Bolt is like a master sprinter. You know, he's one of the fastest sprinters on this planet. Yeah. Or is the fastest. And if he was just to jog, like against any one of us, right? Just like a light jog, he would still destroy us. You know what I mean?
True.
So I like to think of it as like least common denominator. You shouldn't have your least common denominator always the goal. You should aim for the stars. Because even if you just halfway, like if you can run as fast as Usain Bolt's like heavy jog, like not like his light jog, but like he's has actually just like it's a little bit of a run, you're gonna be faster than billions of people. You know what I mean? It's not like you're, oh man, I'm like so slow to Usain Bolt. Yes, this is a fact, but you're faster than everyone else. You know what I mean? And so when you aim high, like you have like these high standards when you're looking at these amazing artists, you know, and you have these high standards for yourself, and you achieve those high standards even at like 50%, that's like so much higher still than like the majority of the industry. You know what I mean? Because people are lazy, man. Like it's built into us. Humans are lazy. It's a natural animal thing. There's very few not lazy animals, right? I think like some birds, like hummingbirds, they're not lazy by nature because they can't be. They'll die if they stop. You know, sharks. I think they're another
Wish that was
one.
for humans too.
Yeah, but humans, no, we're part of like the mammal species, and specifically, you know, the primates. And a lot of primates are lazy, man. They just sit around all day. You know, some animals have evolved so much of their ability to be lazy that they're just like completely lazy animals. The koala is this creature, right? They like evolved to just like live, sleep, like fuck, die all in the same spot their whole life. Like never move. And we're like built for that, is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say we're actually not any different. We're definitely different, but we're not like that much different than most of these other animals, you know? We're very lazy too. Like it's built into us. So it's something that you have to actively evolve or like sort of train yourself around, you know? And so if you just put a little bit more effort, you are putting more effort than the most or the majority of artists out there. Like it's just true, man. Like I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of people just don't try as hard as they should. And when they try just a little bit harder, then they start to make some gains, dude.
When you're like, so you have a lot of experience art directing.
Hold on one
When
second. I realized there was a question. I want to make sure I get to those questions.
oh shoot,
Maybe,
okay.
Yeah, so Chris, I'm doing a demonstration right now for you about like the style like of Painterly. You can see it's still, you got to be clear, okay? The textures aren't hiding your lack of understanding, right? Your textures are just implying things. Does that make sense? Instead of like getting in there maybe and like really painting out every little detail here that could be representing like some sort of trees or something in the background, it's just implying that, instead of detailing every facet of this armor design, I'm implying it through lighting and shapes. All right. And then Raya said, how do you choose from designs which ones to follow through, to polish up or clean up? How do you know what is best for the story, characters, and medium? That one is a hard one to answer because it relies on context. You need to be able to have somebody art direct. Like if you're art directing yourself, for instance, or you're directing yourself in terms of this, I can respect that challenge, especially if you're like a novice and you don't really know what's good. That's why you should always use reference. You know what's good when you're not looking at your own artwork. You just need to compare your artwork to that all the time. Make sense? Like you're like, I don't know, like which one should I pick? Watch, I'll show you, and then you'll be like, oh yeah, duh. Like, of course I should be doing this. Let me show you. So you have these series of characters, right? And so then you go to ArtStation or something, and I'm just going to randomly pick a character design. I'm not saying this is good or bad, but you would compare yourself to this, right? Are you reaching that goal? Actually, let me see if I can find even a better one. I can find one better if I just go to my likes. Where the hell are my likes? I guess I could just go to collections. We'll just go to collections. I'll go to quality. And then I'll pick like this character design. Okay. All right. So you just like would put this next to yours. That's how you like judged how much you should polish. And if in terms of like how like your ideas could be better, you would always compare them to multitude of other artists and designs. If you're not sure which one is good from the ones that you've picked, trust other people. Just say, hey, what do you guys think? And have your peers help you decide. Just always compare yourself to others all the time in a healthy way. It's important that I mention that because sometimes people compare themselves in an unhealthy way, and it does the opposite of what you should be doing, which is stop painting. You just completely give up because you feel so overwhelmed. You compare as an ability like to check your answers, like in the back of the book, and in this case, the back of the book is other people's art. Like that's how you judge whether you're going in the right direction or not. If you're only looking at your artwork without looking at any others too often, then yeah, you're setting yourself up for disaster and false expectations. You're doing the big fish in a small pond. Have you heard of that expression?
I have, yes.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. For those of you who may not, it's just this idea that you're a big fish in a small pond. It's in the terms. Like you're like it looks like you're so much better and you're impressed by your own feats, but then when you compare yourself to the ocean, right, of other fish that exist, you're just like, wait a minute, I'm completely garbage comparatively. So yeah, you should always compare yourself to the biggest and greatest peeps out there. Anyway, let me see if I can answer. Is it possible to over-design, as in adding too much detail? What sort of environments do you do your work in? What sort of environments I'll get to these last two questions. Go ahead. Someone was asking a question, and I'll get to those questions after.
Oh, so I just had the question, when you're like an art director and you're looking to like hire new positions and whatnot, how important, or like, do you even consider if they have a college degree or not, or you just look at the portfolio?
Not at all. Portfolio.
Okay.
That's a great question. Here's how I have people answer these types of questions for themselves. This is a great strategy to think about. Okay. So like if you don't like, for instance, these types of like higher level questions that just, you don't really have the wherewithal or like the knowledge to kind of just answer it. That's why it feels like you should just ask somebody that would know, you know. Answer this types of questions as if you are an art director or you are a project lead or whatever. At some basic level, your intuitions are going to be right. There's some nuances, obviously, to every job, but ask yourself: would you hire somebody that had a phenomenal portfolio, or somebody that had a mediocre portfolio and a college degree? Who would you hire?
Phenomenal.
Yeah, right. Doesn't matter that person dropped out of college.
No, I don't think so.
No, right? If their work is phenomenal, most likely it won't matter, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how you think about that. Like I've had people ask like, oh, well, what about the age? Again, it's like, would you hire somebody that's, maybe 50 years old, but they're one of the best in the industry? Or somebody that's, 18 years old and mediocre? It's like, no, it doesn't matter. Again, it's the same answer. It's obvious. So I was at an event. It was the Black Nerds Expo, which was great. And I like to do these events. I like to try to, be representative. I'm one of very few people, artists of color in our industry. There's not a lot of us. I made a Facebook group chat once, and it was like 30 people. That's not a lot.
Yeah.
Like 30 or 40 people, which is a lot of people in just retrospect. But like the industry is full of thousands of artists.
Yeah.
Maybe tens of thousands, and I'm sure maybe there's like a thousand artists out there that are competent and of color, but then the number will then be tens of thousands. And it's not a matter of like, we should just fill in the gaps. It should, at least the population should match the population statistics should match the industry at some level, right? It shouldn't, if there's like a 12% population of specific group of people, you would like to see that number matched in different industries, at least close to that, right? Where I think in our industry, it's like maybe like 0.01%. Okay, so that's remarkably small. So what's the reason why I'm mentioning this? Well, I go to this event and I'm talking to this guy and he's like hardcore about that. He's just like, fucking whatever, and I can tell his intentions is really like hardcore, right? He's got like a hard position on this. He has a hard perception of what this is,
Mm-hmm.
He has like some paradigm that he thinks is happening. And I try to dispel that, which is this idea that there's like some genuine racism within our industry. There isn't. It's not a matter of racism. It's a matter of exposure. That's the problem. You see, it's not that whenever I was in the line of like hiring or recruiting people, and I was like, wait, before we look, what's their ethnicity, age, and gender? That never happens, okay? At least I've never seen it happen. And if it does happen, those companies are bound to shut down. Very, very likely. Because if you are banking all of your hiring on these factors, that's idiocracy, right? Because then you're limiting your pool of talent to choose from, right? Racism and discrimination is bad for business. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why Marvel movies pander to the Chinese market. You know what I mean? It's not because they think Mother China is the greatest country ever. It's because if they didn't, they would be losing out on that large market. And don't worry, like it's not like just America does this. Other companies like China is also buying American companies so they can reach American markets. So they too are not being racist, even though we may on the surface say stupid shit to each other. Business, running a good business, that's not what you do. I'm an educator. I teach online. It'll be, again, really weird if I'm like, I only teach Russians. It's like, what? Russian Asian? It's like, we got to help. Like I'm a sleeper agent and I'm going to train all the Russians to take over. Right? So, I'm at this event and I'm explaining to this guy, like, that's not the problem, and I try to tell him, it's like, because I've been in these rooms and that's not a thing. It's stupid. It's stupid to think that that's a thing,
Mm-hmm.
And I said, the reason I'm here is to show that it is an option, right? It's like, of course, it's I have a bias towards a certain group of people because I belong to that group, at least ethnicity wise, right? But I like to send this message to everybody. This is universal. It's not my fault if Black kids don't have access to this information. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like my way to solve this problem is to make it that it is accessible, whether it's on YouTube, whether I'm here in person. Because he was like saying like, oh, you don't have any drawings of like Black people. And I was like, you should stop focusing only on that. It's like, I do think that there's a lot of value in what you're getting at, right? He's like, but maybe you should also make sure that Black people don't just have to draw Black things, you know? It's like they should draw whatever they want and then just get in there, and their culture and their opinions will influence in different ways, and I think he understood after we had a good talk about it, because I was like, yeah, you're going too hardcore, man. Like, it's not that malicious, and if you think that way, you're misguiding, because you don't want to get people into a job, right, where they're not qualified. They got in because of other external factors. That's actually setting them up for disaster, right? And in fact, I was talking to a young lady about this, and this is what I usually tell my female students is like, there is a bit of a boys club, and that is a thing to get over, and it's going to always be like that until the numbers shift a little bit. But I was like, with that being said, it's never a merit-based problem. It's usually just dudes or perverts. That's usually what it is, in our industry. And I told her, I was like, you should do what some of my students have done, or what some of my friends have done, which is just lead with their artwork. Lead with your artwork first. So when you get that job opportunity, it has nothing to do with anything else other than your abilities. And then all the other stuff, you're just gonna have to navigate it, Because she said she had got reached out by this art director, and then but he was asking for pictures of her.
What?
And I was like, yeah, that's stupid, man. I was like, plus you don't want to work for somebody like that. That's terrible.
Yeah.
And I was like, but if you only have pictures of yourself and that's all you got, and you're a really attractive person, it's really hard. You don't want to. It's really hard for you to distinguish whether people are genuinely being nice to you because they like you or because you're a good-looking person.
Yeah.
And it's like you want. I don't have that disadvantage. I'm not incredibly attractive person, and I'm a dude. And so when I'm being confronted by other dudes that I review my portfolio, they'll just straight up tell me what's wrong with my portfolio, Because if I was really attractive man, maybe there's still some level of a dude would still, even if you're not gay, you'd still kind of just attractive people just get treated differently, I remember there's this one artist that I was like, I couldn't stop looking at him. I was like, dude, you look like a superhero. It was crazy. It is a genuine distraction is what I'm getting at. But my point is I don't have that problem. People will tell me how it is. A lot of the people in the industry were just like, you're shitty. This is why. I'm like, oh fuck, okay, cool. But if you're a really pretty girl, they're not gonna say that to you. And I was like, that's actually terrible, because that means they're not gonna help you in the ways that you need to be helped, right? They're just saying it because hopefully they can get in favor with you somehow, even if nothing ever happens. Just dudes are just stupid that way,
Yeah.
and she understood that. She respected that. And I was like, look, this is the real world, man. We can't dance around it. This is how it is, And I was like, but I won't make that mistake to you. I'll tell you exactly what's wrong with your work. And I did. I told her exactly what was wrong with her work. And I can even see in her eyes, I don't think she's ever been told that she's had bad art at that level.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Reality check.
I can see her heart was a little crushed in some ways. But at the same time, she was I gave her that primer, of thinking. So she was also prepared to hear it,
Yeah.
She recognized that, okay, this is what I need to be hearing, And whatever she wants to do with that information is up to her. I wish her the best. But this is my point. Always think of it from the perspective of an employer, right? You, the person hiring, what would you do? And also consider reality, And I think once you start to think about that, okay, then you'll have a better foundation of thinking about these types of things, right? Now, what about the nuanced stuff? Like, what is it exactly that an art director would be looking for? You know, well, it all depends on the company, right? So when it comes to the portfolio, that's different, right? So we got the whole college degree problem out of the way, but now let's talk about the actual content to answer that kind of question. Well, it all depends on the company, right? If the company is looking for photorealism and you don't have any, then they're not going to hire you. And the way that you should think about this is that as soon as you walk in through those doors, you should be able to do whatever they ask you to do. Okay? There's no training, there's no teaching. You just jump in and start to do it. And if you can't feel that you're confident to do that type of stuff, then you need to build your portfolio towards that. Okay? So you're like, hey, you know, I want to work for Riot Games. Then you need to be able to draw work like Riot Games. You know, when I was using the rants example for Chu, like I did that very deliberately. You know, there's a real reason why I think that's important. Remember when I was talking about the character illustrations too? There's a real reason why I said you should just focus only on that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because anything else is just a distraction, and it's not going to put you in the mindset that will get you those jobs. Now, does that mean you will get a job at Riot if you just have exactly the right art style? No, it just increases your chances. But what most likely will happen, maybe you'll get an opportunity working for another studio, you know, that is Riot adjacent. You know, they're close to that same aesthetic too. Make sense?
Yeah.
And so you might end up just being just as happy, if not happier, working for that kind of studio. Right?
Yeah.
Like I remember for the longest time, I just accepted that I will never, or I wanted to work at Blizzard, and I finally accepted I was never going to, because it just was not happening. I tried again and again and again and again, you know? And I was like, you know what? It's not going to happen. But I accept it. Like, I'm happy with the kind of work that I do, you know? I feel fulfilled. I feel like I contribute some quality work here, you know? And then, ring, ring, Blizzard Games. We want to hire you. Or Blizzard Entertainment. You want to work for us, dude? And I'm like, yes. And to this day, it's still the best company I've ever worked for. You know? It's
Yeah.
one
When
of my
did you
favorite
work
companies.
for Blizzard?
Huh?
What years were you working at Blizzard?
That was the last job that I had. That was
Oh,
one
okay.
6 or 7 years ago. And honestly, I would go back, but I think it's just a different environment nowadays. So I don't know if it would be the same, you know?
Mhm.
And but it was the best studio I ever worked for thus far. It's not to say that I will never encounter another good studio. I've worked for many studios that I've really enjoyed working for, you know, but it's just been the best. It was just a really cool environment. I was surrounded by great people. The projects that I worked on, every single thing that I worked on, I really enjoyed. It was a good experience all around, you know. And so I'm just focused now on this new journey. So we'll see how this next opportunity goes. It's a really nice studio, and from what it sounds like, they have a really good company culture. So we'll see how it goes. I'll let you guys know once the paperwork is signed.
Yeah, for sure. Is it in your like immediate area? Would you have to relocate?
Yeah, no, it's pretty close to me, so I'm excited for that.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, let me see if I can answer these last few questions and then let you guys go. Is it possible to over design? Yeah, so the only way that, again, that's all context based, because if you look at some designs like that are hyper detailed, you might still like them. And there's some designs that are not detailed at all, and you might still like them. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, right? And so it's less about like, can you over design? It's more about like, is what you're about to do need to be designed at a certain level? Does it need to be super, super high, hyper detailed, like some sort of thing you would see in like a Gundam or anime type of thing, you know, or like Transformers? Or does it need to be simpler and more focused, like kind of like League of Legends or some of the, like, or Dota, somewhere like closer to that, or some of the games that Valve have made, you know? It's just, that is in my perspective, like from my perspective, it's just about opinion, whether something should be crazily designed and have lots of stuff, or just be simple. Because over design implies that there's like some sort of extreme that you should never reach. But you'll be surprised. Some things get so crazy, but yet still have such appeal, you know? And so it's all relative. And so there are fundamental stuff that in design that are just always universal. And those are usually like shape stuff, like shape design, these types of things, you know? And these are the kinds of things that I would say to focus your attention on, like foundational knowledge, not, oh, what the hell? How the hell? But if you wait a minute. Yeah, what the? I thought you can. Yeah, there you go. What the hell? That was weird. Weird. Yeah, if you focus a lot of your attention on foundational knowledge and such, you'll usually improve. Or I'm sorry, you'll be able to translate that information. Sorry, I got caught up with this like hotkey malfunction. You'll usually be able to transition to different, media or design principles easily, or sorry, subjectively, from like going from sci-fi to fantasy. Like a lot of these things are pretty foundational, and these are usually found in shape design, like layer caking, rules of three, these types of things. And I'll talk more about that in some other time. But like overall, just having a larger foundation to things is always what I aim for people to have. But in terms of, I guess, in terms of just like over design, like what things can be over designed, it's just if you look at like Sesame Street and you throw Megatron in there, it's going to be over designed. Okay, it's a little too complex for that genre. But then if you did the reverse, if you take Elmo and throw him into the next Transformers movies, that's going to be too simple of a design. Makes sense. Cool. All right. Let me see what other stuff. What sort of environments do you do your work in? Do you listen to music, podcasts, try to absorb? Usually just sounds, like ambient sounds. If I'm doing something that's really focused, like I have to like think, like design stuff, I'll do that. But if I am trying to learn, if I'm trying to learn something, I'll listen to focus type music. But if I'm trying to just get something done, like I'm noodling or rendering something, then I don't necessarily have to have anything on. And usually I can just listen to whatever. And then usually I'm very bored, so I usually will have music, or so not music, but I don't listen to music when I paint. I usually have something like podcasts, videos, stuff like this. I even listen to tutorials, even if I'm not trying to learn at that time. And what I'll do is I'll just like bookmark parts of the tutorial in my mind, or I'll like pop up in like a notepad or something and just like write it down, or have a paper and just write down like the timestamp and what was going on at that time that might be relevant for me later to practice, or study. Same thing like workouts and stuff, because I listen to a lot of workout advice. Because I'm not like, let's sneeze again. I'm not in the mode. I'm not in the mode to learn. I'm working, so I usually still want to learn sometimes, and I'll put on stuff that I can kind of bookmark later and listen, especially if it's art related. If I'm learning other things like larger principles stuff, like philosophy or like science stuff that I'm not practicing, obviously not practicing science, then I won't bookmark that stuff. I just listen and just learn and just have that in my mind, absorb that information, and that's really good as like a concept artist, to just absorb information just to have like these kinds of ideas and concepts floating in your brain. It's a really good tool to be a better designer. I'm not sure how I feel about this leg being so bright. Anyway, any other questions? I'm gonna take some voice questions.
So I've heard from like several different like people or
They're
like
all
sources.
wrong. I'm
Yeah,
right.
yeah. No, like for instance, like incorrect, but I put together an application for like Art Center in Pasadena,
Sweet.
and when I'm not sure if I'm gonna go because it's like $56,000 after aid, which is kind of
For how many years?
for one.
Cool, dude.
Yeah, yeah. So like, but I just kind of did it because it was a good motivator to get like a little portfolio done. But when I was
Absolutely,
talking
that's
to
great.
the admissions counselor,
Uh-huh.
what they want to do is they wanted us to do the whole thumbnailing process you have us doing right now for our characters.
Cool.
But then once we had it all done, they wanted us to do like place the characters in environments, kind of like what you're doing right now, but
Mhm.
like more along the lines of like illustration stuff
Sure.
as kind of a way to pitch the character. And I just wanted to know if that's like something that's really common,
No.
or if that I should include it, or
No.
no.
No. The problem with ArtStation, and this is not like a huge problem. It's just misleading. It's just the problem with it is that it's misleading, because they have to fill up a quota. It's not that anything that you learn there is invalid. It's just like that, like learning that and doing really well at that is going to have value, right? Anything that you can do, no matter what, it's going to have value. I always tell people to stay focused, mainly because it just makes you so much better, faster, right? It's the fastest way to get better. And I'm not a person that's impatient. I don't think you should just rush into things. I'm saying that as it's a reasonable pace to improve in, and you'll get more opportunities that become exponential. And then eventually you can make up your mind if you want to dive into other stuff once you've built a solid career around it,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what does this look like? So let's take like this art right here, this artwork right here, and let's take maybe not that one. I don't know. I'm just trying to open up the horizon here. So Wen Jian, let's see. Now, this person, that work that we just saw was really good. Huh, interesting. But you'll see that at some point, he just was like, this is what I'm going to be drawing.
Yeah.
Right? And it's very contiguous.
It's Space Girls.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see if that's just a fluke. Anton.
Opposite of Space Girls.
Yeah. But something is similar. Is this consistency? Yeah, you see, you picking up
Yeah,
the
I get
pattern
it.
here? Oh, you follow me too, man? Tight. And so when you start to look at like actual professionals' portfolios, you'll see the opposite to be true, which is it's really focused. Very rarely do you have like all of a sudden a whole different style, right?
Yeah.
But even this, like you could still tell like he wasn't that far off, even though it was like a mobile game it looked like. Or like, oh, I'm sorry, it was more like animation movie. It's still like a relatively well painted environment, right? And he's still an environment artist. It's not anything different. You know what I mean? And so very rarely will you see people just truly do things that are just so different, like, and they're all good. It's one thing if it's all different, you know, and mediocre. It's like another thing. If it's all different, it's all really good. And those people are very few. Okay. And those are the outliers. You shouldn't try to aim for somebody at that level. That's someone that's probably already older anyway, who's able to spend 5 or 6 years in each discipline effectively. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, if we go to latest, this is a great way to determine this. We'll see. So this person's on their way. They're on their way. Yeah, so this is a great example of like mixing it up. Got some environments, got some character illustrations of character concepts. It's a little, it feels like a student's portfolio. Like they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're trying to figure it out. You know?
Mhm.
This person made a mistake, man. They should have stuck with this aesthetic and just keep going with it. But it's like fan art, I think. I think it's based off a TV show on YouTube. You know, there's a real, and this is not me to insult these artists. This is just to demonstrate why there is a difference. Now, obviously, this person's portraits are pretty good, but look at their concept art or their character illustration. It looks all over the place.
Samurai dog.
Well, the concept is not the problem. It's just the execution.
Yeah.
Because I can make a samurai dog and make it look tight. Yeah, it is
Dude,
silly.
Sick.
It is a silly concept, but like that concept itself is not necessarily what makes it bad. You know?
Yeah, I feel you.
And so, you know, having no direction, you know, it's just, that's ultimately the problem. If this person decided, you know what, I'm just going to be a character concept artist, and then they just started doing nothing but character concepts, they would start focusing on that.
Yeah.
You know, again, it's not anything against Gabriella. I'm just making a point. Because everybody starts somewhere, right? And you have to improve. But most cases, students' portfolios are always scattered. But then professional portfolios are always focused. So whenever you hear people tell you to have more stuff writing your artwork, that ultimately is just not, that's misguided. Eventually you should diversify your portfolio if you can, you know?
Yeah.
But I just showed you, like, I do environments, right? But I share mostly characters. But I'm at a whole different level. I'm in an art director position and lead concept artist position because I'm like an incredibly seasoned concept artist, and I am well versed in many different disciplines. But make no mistake, I'm a master character concept artist. That is what I am, you know?
Yeah.
If you wanted me to do characters, it's no problem. I have very little issue doing character designs well and consistently well, right? But I have been in the industry that I can bring value in other ways, you know? You guys need to just get that first mastery like out of the way before you can explore all the other stuff. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
It's not bad advice to diversify your portfolio on paper. And it's a really easy way to tell somebody that they suck without telling them that they suck. Right? It's really easy to say, oh, you should diversify your portfolio versus you need to really work on your character designs. You really need to focus on anatomy. You know, it's really easy to say you're really bad. I'm sorry, in ways of like, oh, you just got to work on this and that, and you should be okay. Like, if you go to an event and you have a portfolio review, and the reviewer says stuff like, yeah, you need more environments, and you're just a student, you're just starting out, then obviously they're just trying to be nice. But if someone is reviewing your work and they say, you know, you need to have more polished quality, or like you have to have this, then they're giving you an honest answer to what they don't like about your artwork and why it's suffering. And if they don't give you an honest answer, you should press them as much as you can. Like if they tell you to add different types of stuff into your portfolio, right? You should tell them, I want to be a character concept artist. I respect that there's a lot of challenge there. You know, I appreciate the despairing, like the desperate amounts of levels of competition. I respect that. But ultimately, I want to become a concept artist, character concept artist. And any advice, any and all advice that will get me closer to that would be incredibly appreciated, you know? And
Yeah.
hopefully they'll give you that advice. If they don't, then, you know, just be grateful that they even gave you advice at all on anything. Interpret that information however you can, you know? But don't lose your eyes on the prize, you know? I used to be told, you know, character design is really hard to do. Like, don't do it. It's like doing this is much easier. Doing that is much easier. But that's not what I asked people. I didn't ask them what was easier. I asked them how to do character designs better. You know, I always thought it was weird. Like, hey, you know, how do I like I don't know. Let me use a different example. It's like, how do I stay in shape? Oh, dude, staying in shape's super hard, man. You know what you should do, dude? Just like eat lots of donuts, man. It's so much easier. It's like, wait, that's not what I asked. I asked for being in better shape. It's like, nah, dude, like that's so tough, dude. Yeah, just like freaking keto diet, man. Just do these random ass diets. So much easier. It's like, yeah, okay, but like, how do I like actually just genuinely be healthy? Like, what do you really know? You know, it's the same way. That's how I kind of felt. Like, it's like, hey, how do I be a
Yeah.
character concept artist? Oh, you don't want to be a character concept artist. Just do 3D. You know,
Yeah. I feel ya.
ironically, I do 3D now, but it has nothing to do with trying to get a job, right? It's more to do with I really love it.
Mhm.
You know, I don't like to be pressured into do things because I have to do it. I do it because I want to do it, right? And it's improving my work so much too. Like, it's one of those things that that people will tell me to do 3D. I just knew that they were saying that just so I can get a job. And now in hindsight, I can see that I made the right choice because 3D has gotten so much easier. Like, years of learning 3D that my friends had to spend, it seems like you can now learn in just a year.
Really?
Yeah, it's so much
Damn.
easier, dude. It's really easy to learn 3D, man.
I've
It's
kind of
just
been
tedious.
procrastinating it.
It's just tedious. But like, if you just like grab a couple of tutorials and just try to make a couple things, you'll learn 3D really fast. I don't think it'll, like, to be proficient at 3D, I don't think it'll take you more than a year maybe to get really
Shit.
proficient. Where in the past it was like a thing, man, like to learn like Mayan shit, like all of like the tools and where they're at and hidden, and like there was nothing to help you too. Like, you just, there's no real tutorials and resources, right? It's all kind of hidden behind large paywalls. You know what I mean? There was a
Yeah.
legit reason to become a 3D artist, and there was a demand for it. But it's like 3D, even 3D in itself is starting to be replaced with stuff like mega scans and assets that are already created, like on TurboSquid, you know? And so, and then like AI is only going to make 3D even more obsolete for people to learn, right?
Yeah.
So anybody can really learn 3D now, you know? Tools are free that are some powerful ass tools, you know? So it's just kind of like, yeah, it really is just up to you whether you want to do it or not. It's not a matter of limitations. Okay, it's a matter of choice.
Would you recommend it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, before, I would say, you know, really stay focused, right? Don't even touch 3D, right? I would say that maybe like 3 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. This time for me to go. I'll answer you guys the rest of your questions next time. Just hang on to them. But now I'm like, no, you can like learn 3D alongside your like art journey to build your portfolio, right? And it actually would help you, right? It'll teach you more about three-dimensional spacing better, right? Like, if you spend like a week just learning some basic 3D and then you spend another week back to painting, like if it's like a good like balance between painting and 3D, which you could totally do, I think you could do both for sure. Absolutely. And what I used to do in the past, because 3D was so complicated, I would just spend like a week every 2 months and just really like learn it, and then I'll get back to painting, you know? because I always saw the value in 3D. You know, I never like looked at it and was like, ugh, shun that. I just saw it as another tool. You know, out of the many great tools that I can use. Right. But now I'm just like, oh shit! Like I was talking to my buddy Friday, and I was looking at Blender, and I was like, nah, man, Blender's tight, dude. You can do so much cool stuff in Blender now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, compared to ZBrush.
No, just in general, like in compared to everything, you know. And like for instance, I don't know how fast I can do this because I just started messing with this. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask you if you do like a Blender tutorial, like, but you
No,
only do it like another day.
I only do tutorials of things I know how to do really well. If I don't know how to do something well, I don't teach people how to do it. I think it's in preferences, and then I think it's add-ons. Okay, and so then I need to go to here. So if you don't have Quixel Bridge, you should download it. It's free, and so you can do some cool shit like let us do historic. Let's do this one. And again, you can like watch some tutorials to really I guess I could just do custom. Or actually, you know what? I have to go settings, and then I have Blender, save changes, LOD. These are massive LODs. So let's. I think my.
I feel bad, man. I learned Maya, and now Blender's like just taking over everything.
I mean, that knowledge is not pointless. Okay, don't feel like, oh, everything I learned. It's just that there was a lot of like technical stuff that was brought value to you to know. That a lot of that technical stuff is not as valuable anymore, is what I'm getting at, right? But like basic like foundational modeling skills and understanding, it still has a lot of value, right? But
Yeah,
eventually,
I mean,
that's going to go out of the window when technology becomes so powerful that you can just sculpt something at a high resolution. It's going to use some sort of cloud-based rendering voxel system, and it's just all just AI rendering, you know. So it doesn't matter what you did. You can like paint and texture and model whatever that you did, like in like ZBrush, something like that. There's no more of a need to unwrap, to make a low poly, make the LODs. You know, you just make the thing, and then the AI will render it, and then obviously anyone who did not practice their abilities to just create and be creative are going to be left in the dust, because people like me, like a concept artist, will make the assets now, right? Because I'm a designer, I can sculpt this thing. But even like I'm just showing you, this thing is already designed. It's like not even designed, it's like a real thing. It's a photogrammetry, you know? And you'll see it once you download it, which is important. You got to download it. After this demonstration, I'm going to end the class too. But I don't think I set it up, so this might not work. I have a different machine that I was testing this stuff on. Okay, so then you can go to export settings. It's to Blender. Let's copy this. Let's go back to Blender. Let's open up preferences yet again. Let's go to install. Let's copy and paste this. Hit enter. Click on the zip. Install. How do I know how to do all this stuff? Tutorials online, dude. Okay, refresh. Plug in. All right. Yeah, I think we're good here. Let's delete this. Let's delete this. I don't need this. Okay, so let's see if it worked. So now I just do export. Exporting to Blender. Yeah, it says it's successful, so it should be there. Cool. There you go. I got my my thing in there. You're like, well, it looks like trash. Well, that's because I'm in the regular viewport. I have to go to render. There you go. Let's actually delete this light too. Let's get a better light. And you're like, how do you know how to do all this stuff? Tutorials, dude. Just fucking watch tutorials, yo. There it is. Look at that. Pretty tight.
Yeah.
So now you can imagine that if you are a competent modeler, you can start to design an environment with no experience on how to create, like, especially some more realistic environments, right? Without actually having to paint and do all that stuff, right? So if you go back and you can see there's like columns, there's like trees, there's like all this stuff, dude.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, why do you need to like learn 3D, dude? Especially for realism, you know? And I say you really don't. You know, it's only like those what is that called? The enthusiasts, the legacy folk who've learned, like you were saying, like I learned Maya. Like those people are the ones that are going to be the ones like fighting it. But you can't fight it, dude. Because if a young artist is creating like a whole environment in like less than a day by themselves and it looks fucking amazing, and it for you takes you a month, I mean, it's sad to say, but you're going to be replaced. And in fact, that's why I always encourage people to always future proof themselves, learn skills and tools that will help them be better artists, you know, and focus on the concepts like the idea generator, you know, be a person who's an idea guy, you know, someone who can create things from imagination. Because although this is like really impressive and like cool tool, right? You know what's even faster? Because that still could probably take me a day or two to really do a really good job of that, right? But photo bashing is still going to be faster, right? But not just photo bashing, just painting, you know, painting more effectively. There's a reason why I clicked on some of Paul's images, because I'll show you one of the reasons. I think this one specifically. Oh no, not this one. This isn't just a collection of all his awesome artwork. This one is the one. He has like a Learn Squared course, right? It's so funny. Like, I didn't even have to watch his Learn Squared course. I just watched this teaser to it, and I got all the information I needed because I know all these tools really well already, right? So I'm just like, oh yeah, I never thought about doing it that way. You know, I'm sure there's some nuanced information that he could provide. I don't doubt that. But like this right here, let me show you. Not that. That's pretty common. Not that. That's pretty common. Not that. This right here. I was like, oh yeah, like that's clever. You know, like blocking out environments just with just shadows and then putting them into textures later, and then like taking you know, photos of like cool architecture and then just basically turning them into a black and white image, posterized image, and just overlay them onto there and then just fill in the shapes, right? I was like, oh shit, son, super clever, dude, you know. And I can do that in like an hour if I really perfect this. You know what I mean? And then if I know how to do a really cool environment thumbnail that I can show my client something like this, like some of the sketches that we were just looking at moments ago, right? Like if I can do something like this within an hour, right? Then it's just a matter of building it. And then I can take some more time. Or maybe the modeler can start building it. You know, and I can paint over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's less of a mystery to kind of build this. I'm like, oh, this is super cool. Like I can see how I can do that. But it's like design, shape, language, making cool ideas, all that stuff is things that is hard to teach, you know? But using 3D, like modeling in 3D, importing and exporting stuff, there's literally a video tutorial you can watch. It's about half an hour and you'll learn everything you need to do.
Damn.
Right? So the year of mastery is just more of like proficiency inside the tool, where you learn all the hotkeys and you're feeling like really, you feel smooth, like it's like you're flying around, you know? I don't feel like I'm at that level yet, not with Blender at least. With other tools I do, like 3D Code I feel that way with, ZBrush I feel that way with, but each of those tools I spent at least a year really kind of getting good at them. 3D Code took me less than a year, I think. And then once you learn it, you just make cool shit. No, don't save. Okay? All right. I got to go. I can hear my babies freaking out. All right, guys. Thanks again for all the great questions, for the great work. Good luck over this next week. And I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Cheers, y'all.
Thanks, man.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to watch more in the future. If you like the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you like this content, you can go to my website, robotpencil.net, where you can find mentorships, tutorials, and a Patreon to get more exclusive content. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in my next videos.